we've got to see the nipples, and we've got to see, you know, the bulges and all these different things.
The bulges and the nipples.
Yeah.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Kapow!
Yep. That's the onomatopoeia we were looking for. Maybe not the one we deserve, but the one we need.
Yep.
And for music video since Barrett Share.
Da 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 da.
Ooh, da,
Yeah,
da, da.
yeah.
That was more Captain Underpants than it is Superman.
It is. It kind of, yeah. Honey, where are my pants? Oh, different movie. So we are going back to our DC versus Marvel March Madness in June or July or whenever this is going to get published.
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
I'm always angry.
As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass.
Face off to the death.
That's right,
between the Marvel and the DC movies, and not just the MCU and the DCEU, but anything that has Marvel or DC.
That's right.
In it. And you'll have to keep that in mind as we do this bracket.
My sleeper
as well.
pick is Shaquille O'Neal's Steel.
Oh, yeah.
I
that's
actually
right.
put that jokingly on the, last four in.
Yeah.
Consolation prize.
Yeah. So we still need to do in the round of 32 the South bracket. Ooh. And we have a play-in game. The winner of this play-in game will be the 6th seed against Avengers Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
The play-in game is Batman Returns versus Batman Forever.
Oh, this is so interesting,
This
right?
is Tim Burton versus Joel Schumacher.
It's the worst Burton Batman versus the best Schumacher Batman.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So Schumacher did this, Batman and Robin, and what's the Batman?
That's it.
That's it. There's 4 movies in this series, and
So it went,
2 were Burton, 2 were Schumacher.
It went Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney.
It was Keaton.
Keaton. Yeah.
Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney.
That sounds like a law firm.
Yeah.
K.
Yeah.
K.
See,
And then you can throw in Kim
C.
Basinger, Nicole Kidman.
It seems like this should be a runaway.
Should, but it's not.
I feel like, and myself included, people tend to overinflate Batman Returns.
Oh, man, I was just about to say something very similar. When was the last time, to you, dear listener, when was the last time you sat through the entirety of Batman Returns? Because if it wasn't in the last 5 years, it's worse than you remember.
Because you guys you two were on the Sins video.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to see the actual vitriol coming from this.
Movie is Batman Returns is not good. There's a too many villains thing going on in Batman Returns already.
Yeah.
First you have Max Schreck.
Yeah.
The Christopher Walken character is a human villain. You have the Penguin, and then you have the whatever Catwoman is.
Yeah.
There's so many origin stories being thrown at you. And in this one, Tim Burton can't help himself with the Penguin origin story. His parents didn't want him. He was ugly. They put him in a basket and made him float down the river. Like, I'm just like Moses. Yeah. And I'm like sitting there going, I just don't care. I don't care. It's that Patton Oswalt joke, right? Where I don't care where the things that I like came from. Just give me the thing that I like.
I feel like what happened is that they probably had a little bit of cuffs on him for the first Batman movie. Because it is Tim Burton.
Yeah.
And then that one was such a raging success, they were like, we're going to let you have a little more free reign here. And he did.
Yeah.
And maybe he needed a little more rating in on this one, because it feels like all of the bad impulses, were throttled up on this second one. Like the bombs on all the Penguins' army dudes.
Yeah.
The giant rubber ducky floating. Like, I'm over all of it.
And the idea that because he saved somebody out of a sewer or something like that, and becomes a viable political candidate
for like mayor.
Like only in fucking Gotham, right? Like this man who came from out of the sewer and saved a person or a little girl or whatever it was. I can't even remember who he saved.
But it was all manufactured, though.
Yeah, it was all manufactured.
Yeah.
But like the Gotham residents are like, let's make that guy a viable political candidate. That's a perfect idea. And it just seems like there's a lot of just how I recall it. Just seems like there's a lot of like people talking to each other about what's going on, especially the Batman and Catwoman or / Bruce Wayne, Selena Kyle stuff is a lot of like just talking. There's no real action going on there.
And it's so small. The movie is like, and I think you guys mentioned it in the Sins video, it's like everything is within one small lot.
It feels like a soundstage.
It is. Well, especially anything outside looks the exact same.
Yeah.
It's like they swapped out like a stage production, basically. And then, Wayne Manor looks small, and it's always shot from the same direction. Selena's apartment is tiny, literally tiny. But yeah, everything seems small. It's not him going through Gotham and all that stuff.
And nothing about Selena Kyle's life, her cats, the milk, any of that should lead to her falling out of a building and then being able to be revived later. Like there's no science. There's no even pseudoscience behind it.
Yeah, that's super fantastical.
Yeah, I mean it like most villains you see there's a reason. Joker gets thrown into the waste. Penguin in this, I don't really like it, but shunned by his parents, lived in a sewer all his life. There's reasons for why they are, and in this one it's like let's just make a wholesale reincarnation where cats lick her face and she becomes Catwoman.
We'll just people will just take the 9 lives thing at face value.
Selena Kyle likes cats. She must be like a cat.
Yeah.
That legend about cats.
It is. I mean, the look of this movie is very, very cool, I think, because this is bad Tim Burton as compared to Batman, but it's not like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or like Dark Shadows.
No, I would
Tim
agree
Burton.
with that. Yeah, it's more
not
watchable than
it's
some
not
of his
bottom
absolute.
barrel.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But the story itself is the problem with this. It's not really a Batman story. It's more of a villain story.
Yeah.
And there's probably as much Danny DeVito screen time as there is Michael Keaton. Almost.
Yeah.
But I do like the look of it. I like the look of Catwoman in particular.
Yeah. Look, guys. Michelle Pfeiffer still is beautiful.
Yes.
But just think about her in her prime in that leather outfit. That was amazing.
Yeah. And even when it gets like all shredded and stuff like that, like
meow.
And she and Bruce and Michael Keaton do have like a palpable chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
You could make an argument that they have a better chemistry than him and Kim Basinger.
Well, totally agree.
Yeah, for sure.
But she's got a lot more to chew on as a character than Kim Basinger did with Vicky Vale. So.
And then there's a line in there where Penguin's being shown around, and they're trying to make him the candidate and everything, and he's and it says, and someone I think says something like, you will be able to fill a void here or whatever, and he like sees Jan Hooks from Saturday Night Live. He's like, I'd like to fill her void, and you're like, God damn, dude, this is just come on.
Yeah, his shit's gross too, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a disgusting character, and God bless him for taking that next step and making him like literally gruesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely different than the Burgess Meredith, like just kind of like cigar twirling kind of dude. It was Burgess Meredith that played him in the series.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But by the way, the rumors are that Matt Reeves' new Batman movie with Pattinson is going to have the Penguin and the Catwoman as the villains, and I think that is a terrible idea.
Why do you have to have more than one villain?
Well, and also, it almost feels like an attempt to fix something, right? Like, even if you want to have those specific 2 villains have not only been featured before in a Batman movie, they were in the same one already.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to. And then we saw another Catwoman after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
we saw 2 more Catwomen.
Give me a good Riddler, goddammit!
Because we've got, exactly. We'll talk about that in a second. But we had the Halle Berry Catwoman, then we had Anne Hathaway in Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yeah.
Well, did she ever really? Was she ever really Catwoman in that?
No,
not really.
She's a cat burglar, and she's got the little
but she was
ears.
never fucking Catwoman as we know her or anything like that.
No, she was a little kicky in that one scene on the roof.
She's a little what?
She's a little kicky.
Kicky.
On the other hand, we have Batman Forever, where Joel Schumacher took that like maybe lighthearted darkness that Tim Burton was doing and then turned it into complete like almost adaptation of Adam West type of stuff with a little bit of darkness, more lighthearted than anything. Now we're talking about like they're putting on the suits. We've got to see the nipples and we've got to see, the bulges and all these different things.
The bulges and the nipples.
Yeah.
The peepees.
Battle of the bulges. But Batman Forever, I have a soft spot for it. Jim Carrey's performance in this is, this is right after he's had that 1994 where 3 movies, like again, I've said before, I've never seen anybody like who was basically a nobody in January and then was hottest star ever by December.
Yeah.
And then I think Batman Forever was the next movie that came out that following summer in this run of his. And this is the first time I'd ever seen him like even slightly have a serious bone in his body. Like he's this well-meaning inventor named Edward Nygma, and he's trying to impress Bruce Wayne with this invention that he's got, and it's this it's this mind reader thing. Of course, Bruce Wayne isn't about that and everything. He's like, reading, like Val Kilmer, reading minds and pulling his glasses off. It's not anything that we're going to be doing here.
It's hilarious. It's almost like a David Caruso moment.
Yeah. But there's that, that scene where like he starts turning villainous and everything. You were supposed to understand. I'll make you understand.
That's right.
Through a series of things, he becomes Riddler and that and everything. The one big huge knock against this though, Tommy Lee Jones is Harvey Dent.
I don't know what he's doing. It's comical, but it's way
and it's also in effect whitewashing because Billy D. Williams was a good Harvey Dent. It's not like he was unavailable,
right? And
I know that Tommy Lee Jones also had a hell of a like 1993 to 1995 thing. So he was in everything in 1994. And then in 1995, he's such a bankable person at this point that they put him in there as Harvey Dent. And then, he's destined to become Two-Face. So, but, I think Tommy Lee Jones is fine. It's just that I just rather have seen Billy D. Williams continue what he was doing.
Oh, you think he's okay in the character though?
Yeah, he's fine.
Oh, I thought he was. Jim Carrey is over the top, but Jim Carrey's going to be. In fact, he's got that line towards the end where he's like, if knowledge is power, then a god am I. And then he's like, was that over the top? I can never tell. So, he at least had a wink in there, but Two-Face is just like,
yeah, he is.
Does he have, am I wrong, is Harley Quinn like one of his henchmen in the background in this movie?
Oh, it could be. I know that, I don't know.
Drew Barrymore's in
like
this.
Drew Barrymore is
henchwomen.
And so is,
she's Sugar and Debbie Mazar is Spice.
Okay. I was about to say Debbie Mazar. It's either Debbie Mazar or Fairuza Balk.
Yeah.
I like the story. I don't really like Val Kilmer as Batman.
Yeah, what's his deal? He started right around this time because this was post Tombstone. It was post Top Secret, which I watched the other day. It's so good.
Yeah. Same year as Heat came out.
Yeah, he's excellent in Heat.
Yeah.
So maybe that just took all.
I don't know.
It drained all his acting.
Kilmer wasn't like some huge hot property at the time. I don't think there wasn't anything that I can think of that he was just like fresh off of. Like, let's put him in that, But
he came off of The Doors, I guess. Right?
Well, The Doors was 1990 or 91, somewhere around there.
And then Tombstone was 92, 93.
Yeah. I mean, he was a viable guy. He was an A-lister, but I don't remember, going, boy, be great. Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that ever crossed my mind, but and then Nicole Kidman is
Dr. Chase
is the hottest psychiatrist ever.
Chase Meridian.
Yeah, Chase Meridian. I read your profile. I think you love strong women, don't you, Mr. Wayne? Blah blah blah. All that.
We also get Robin in this movie.
I'm trying. Yeah, it's when he's because we see we see his origin story, the circus,
yep.
and all of that.
Because that's a Two-Face bomb.
Yeah,
that blows up the circus.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bruce adopts him,
Yeah.
as you do.
Yes.
Whenever there are orphans within 50 meters of you, you just make them part of the family.
He's sort of learning how to live at Wayne Manor, and he sneaks the Batmobile out during the middle of the night, and come into my love machine, baby, and all that bullshit. You can tell I've seen this many times.
Is this the one that has the holy rusted metal crack?
It's
either this one or the next one.
Yeah.
I think it is this because they're climbing up into where he's holding Nicole Kidman.
I think that's right.
Oh, and he does the Spider-Man drop the the woman you love and this other thing, and you got to choose. Right?
He drops Robin. He drops Robin, and he drops Chase, and of course he's got some way of saving both of them.
Yeah.
This movie isn't great, but I like it.
I'll tell you what this does have, and we've talked about it a little bit, is a great soundtrack.
It does.
It's got a really unique soundtrack.
The Flaming Lip song happens when Edward Nygma is
Nigbaing.
He's upset at his boss, and the song is about stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like a bad day or something like that.
I used to love that song.
It's a great song.
And the one that it's most known for is "Kiss from a Rose," the Seal song, which is a really good song.
Mm-hmm.
It's cheesy, but I've made love to that song many times.
Yeah.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't like making love to music.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I prefer making love to a woman. Hey-oh!
Yeah.
Let's give it a dad.
That's a dad joke from Not a Dad.
Oh, yeah, it is Bad Days by Flaming Lips.
Yeah.
But it had PJ Harvey. This is like the 90s album ever. PJ Harvey, Brandy, Seal, Mazzy Star. Oh, that Mazzy Star thing is awesome. The Offspring, Nick Cave.
The Offspring.
Method Man did a Riddler song. Michael Hutchins did an Iggy Pop cover, The Passenger, which you guys have heard.
Passenger.
Sunny Day Real Estate. I want to listen to this right now.
Definitely a great soundtrack. And there's some fun performances in it. Well, maybe is Jim Carrey the only fun performance now that I'm thinking about it?
I don't know. Pat Hagle's pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, by the way, is he the only holdover cast member from the first two to this
Leave
third
Michael
one?
go.
Oh, Alfred.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was in all four of them.
Okay. But that's the only other. Those are the only two people who have any continuity.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it's even more of a crime they didn't put Billy D in as Harvey Dent, because they obviously carried over characters from the previous thing, even though Schumacher was taking it in a different direction.
I'd like to see Drew Barrymore's character's origin story.
Yeah, me too.
How did you become Sugar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Debbie Mazar or Fairuza Balk?
It is.
How did you become Spice?
It is kind of an interesting a period in Drew Barrymore's career, right? Because she's not A-list. She's getting back to A-list from after having her issues as a teenager and everything. This is about the time she's about 18, 19 years old. And she's getting back into it. So she was in this, and Mad Love, I believe, was the same year. And then her little beginning part of Scream happened the following year. So she was getting back into that fray and everything. And so it's interesting to see her, like, you watch and I think Bad Girls may have even come out in 95 or 94.
Yeah, it did.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
You see her in all these, like, low rent type of movies for a while, and she's starting over. Like, she doesn't have any, she had that child actress era after E.T. and she was in Firestarter and all these things,
Yep.
and then there was sort of a drop off, and then she's in Poison Ivy and all this stuff, and then finally works her way back up.
Bad Girls was 94.
Mm-hmm.
That's a terrible movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot
9% Rotten
but
Tomatoes.
it's got a lot of
Yikes.
it's got a lot of fine honeys in it, man. Madeline Stowe.
Madeline Stowe was the other one. Sharon Stone, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Sharon Stone's in it.
Madeline Stowe, and then Mary Stuart Masterson.
Mary Stuart Masterson's in it.
Oh, what did I think? Oh, what was Quick and the Dead?
Quick and the Dead's the Western she's in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say Batman Forever on this one.
This is a surprisingly tough one. I love the soundtrack to Batman Forever, but you're right. Jim Carrey is really the only reason to watch this. There's some nice visuals, but Kilmer's terrible. Chris O'Donnell has nothing to work with. I got to go Batman Returns.
It's Forever. If only because I cannot shake my disdain for Returns.
Yeah.
It's wild how people overinflate that movie.
You watch
though.
that. I mean, the soundstage feel of it, the way you talked about it feeling small is. I'm sure they shot on a soundstage a bunch in the first Batman, but they didn't have the problem of it feeling like a soundstage in this, like they did in the second one. So it's Forever. Get out of here, Burton.
Score's better in Batman Returns, though.
Probably. Well, it's Elfman, and is he doing the score on the third one?
No, it's Elliot Goldenthal.
Yeah, there you go.
Score, but it's not a bad score on Forever, but it. The original Batman theme is unassailable.
I think technically he's just kind of working off of what Elfman was doing anyway, right?
He deviates a lot from that. He's got the central theme of but he goes off like very early and kind of does his own thing. Love that theme.
So Batman Forever will move on to face Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, shit.
Short-lived
run, Batman Forever.
Yes. On to our matchups. We have the Avengers versus Constantine. The Avengers is number 1. Constantine's the 8th seed.
That feels right.
So Constantine. You know what? This would be a great companion piece to Devil's Advocate, right?
Yeah, of course. It's got everything. It's the suit. The paranormal stuff, the religion stuff, the canoe stuff,
the LaBeouf stuff. The LaBeouf stuff. I tell you what, me and my girlfriend got into some LaBeouf stuff. He's an angel called John Constantine. I was wondering if well, he's not an angel. I guess he's a human that has the ability to see demons.
Right.
He's like Bill Paxton in Frailty.
Exactly. Exactly. He is exactly like Bill Paxton in Frailty.
Did you just recently see Frailty?
I did.
I did too. I was going to say otherwise. That is a pull out the ass for the ages. Oh my god!
No, it was on one morning, and I was like, I haven't seen this in forever. I will watch it.
I did the same thing, and it's still great.
Yeah, it's very good, very good. When I saw that his name was John, I was like, geez, how many times has Keanu Reeves played somebody named John something? It's probably 3 times, but it feels like it's been a ton.
Well, John Wick and let's see. No, there's definitely been other Johns.
Well, I thought maybe Devil's Advocate because John Milton is thrown around so much, but that's Pacino's character.
Yeah, he's Kevin
Lomax.
And
he's Neo.
Yeah, but his real name is John Anderson.
No,
but Constantine's kind of a confusing movie, but he can see demons and he sends demons back to hell, and he wants to go to heaven, but he can't because he tried to kill himself early on, and he died for 2 minutes, and according to God's like,
it's a mortal sin.
It's a mortal sin, man. I can't allow you into heaven. And he talks to Gabriel, played by Tilda Swinton.
Yeah, baby.
Who says, you took a life. You're fucked. And you're not going to be able to get into heaven. So he's like, man, how many demons have I sent to hell? Why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
If I can't go to heaven. Meanwhile, he's got lung cancer.
Yeah, he's irascible too, man. He's
a bastard.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Yeah. There's a point where he gets on the elevator, and Rachel Weisz wants to get on the elevator, and she says, she says something like,
hold the door going down.
Hold the door, I'm going down. And he goes, not if I have anything to say about it. And he closes the door. He's like sitting there smoking a cigarette. The story starts where Rachel Weisz plays a girl named Angelica, and her twin sister Isabel has committed suicide. And she believes it's not a suicide. She thinks that there's something else involved. And we find out that she's got psychic powers. And but due to some very, very specific and weird powers that Constantine possesses, by sticking his feet into a vat of water, he's able to go down into hell.
Yeah, water's a conduit, man.
Yeah, and he's able to see that Isabel is down there and that she is burning because she committed suicide. Why did she commit suicide, you might ask, is the next thing. And there's this whole, good versus evil. There's a balance that's being maintained. Jaimin Hansu plays a character that's helping maintain the balance somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's rules.
He's Papa Midnight. There's rules.
His name is Midnight.
Oh my God,
is Midnight.
And John Constantine comes up to him and doesn't call him Papa. He calls him Midnight every time.
Yeah, that's his name,
like
man.
Shades of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it, Midnight?
Well, sneakers.
Oh, that's right. He calls Sidney Poitier. That's right.
Sneakers. But someone has fucked this balance up, because this movie's movie has so much shit going on. It starts off telling you about the Spear of Destiny. Some guy in Mexico accidentallys himself into finding the Spear of
the
Destiny.
most powerful artifact in history.
Whoever controls the Spear of Destiny holds the fate of the world in their hands. You see him go off on some weird killing spree or something. He walks off with the Spear of Destiny, this guy in Mexico. And he walks into the street, and this car just blam hits him, and he gets up, and he keeps walking, and then you see him walk across a field with cattle, and the cattle just fall over as he walks past.
When did you stop talking about Constantine and start recounting the plot of Aquaman?
It was about 3 minutes ago. You were looking at your phone, and I made a really weird switch there.
That's right.
Spear of Destiny.
Yeah, so there's all that stuff. And it's like there's a passage about the son of Satan wants to create his own hell that is beyond the rules of God and his father. But the only way he can get up on earth is if he gets God's help. And I guess God's help is through Gabriel, but Gabriel's not God.
I don't think she's consulted God about this. I think he's dealing straight with Gabriel.
Do you think, how does Gabriel have the power to bring the son of Satan up if it's not God's power?
I think by upsetting the balance. I think that's what the movie's saying.
Speaking of which, there's another guy who plays a character named Balthazar, played by Bush frontman Gavin Rossdale.
That's right. Oh. And by God, he's good. Well, he is good in this movie.
Yeah, he is.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know what? It shows that anybody can act.
It does.
It is not rocket science.
Exactly.
He's good. He's only in a few roles, but
but there's a lot of stuff in this that I'm like, what the hell is going on? The Constantine is brought to, I believe, is it Mexico in the early part of it? It might be just a Spanish community.
No, it's in L.A.
It's in L.A.
Yeah,
it's a Spanish community in L.A. And his buddy Pruitt Taylor Vance has tried to get this demon out of her, and he fucks it up because he's not good. And then Constantine comes in and tries to say all this Latin stuff, and it doesn't work. So he's like, "Get me a mirror 3 feet high," and all that. And then they bring this mirror in, and then he speaks some more Latin, and the demon is trapped behind the mirror.
Yeah, it's like General Zod.
Yeah, and then he throws the mirror. He tells Shia LaBeouf to move his cab up a little bit, and he throws the mirror out and shatters it, and the demon's
he's introduced really well in this movie because he comes in, he's all like chain smoking and stuff like that. And he goes up to this little girl who's possessed by the demon, and he's like, "Get out of there, asshole." Keanu Reeves is very good in this movie. Like, he plays this. Now, this is based on a comics. It's not just one graphic novel. It's a serial, I think.
Oh, he's a character.
Yeah, he's a character. Well, yeah.
That was very Seinfeld. He's a character.
Yeah.
But I think he's terrific in this role.
I think he's good for the most part. There are parts in there where he's explaining things to Rachel Weisz, and he does his usual Keanu Reeves.
He's acting tough.
Yeah, where he's like, this is he does when Keanu has something really important to say. He'll say something and pause for a really long time, not the William Shatner way. This is a long pause, and then he'll continue talking after that.
That's what Joey on Friends calls smell the fart acting. Whenever the line's too long to remember, you say the first part, then you make a face like you smell a fart, like you're thinking really hard, and then the rest of the line comes to you.
Anyway, having seen Constantine recently, I liked it better than I did the first time I watched it. I still wish that I still wish that the CGI was better in this. It's eye gouging how bad the CGI is in this. I know they're trying to make this hellscape. It's like all blurry and shit's like coming off of things, and it looks all hazy and stuff. But I that stuff bores me. I can't.
It's really just windy down there.
It really is.
It's hella windy.
It's hella windy.
I feel like if Alex Proyas had given this like Dark City type of look and everything, this would have been a badass movie. As it is, it's pretty good. It's got a 7.0
I like
on
this
IMDb.
movie a lot.
Yeah.
You know who's good in this movie? Peter Stormare.
Oh yeah,
as the devil.
Okay, so
he's playing Lou.
I had a conversation last night with Finley from Modern Horrors about what we were trying to figure out the most normal character Peter Stormare has ever played, and like his argument ultimately was Fargo, and because even though he murders that cop and he's a psycho, he really doesn't talk a whole lot. So that may be the most normal. It started because we were talking about that Seinfeld episode where he calls the electrical outlet holes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love that bit where they're sitting around the table and George was like, "We're not stealing it." And the guy's like, "We're not stealing it." And the other guy's like, "I definitely thought we're stealing it."
I would probably say Armageddon is his most normal.
Yeah.
His most
good
normal.
Call. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I mean, and Stormare's been in so many movies that it's at this point he's probably played way more normal than we think. But yeah, he usually is like Minority Report. He's way off the deep end in that, and then of course in this movie he's playing Satan, so he's got to play it. Yeah.
It's really, really. He's only in one scene, but he's really good in this.
Oh, interesting.
I like this movie a lot. I like. You're right about the CG in particular, but I think Rachel Weisz is good. Boy, they really tit her up. They try to wetten her T-shirt like as much as humanly possible.
That's a really funny scene when he puts her in the bathtub and she takes off like one little like jacket or whatever. And
do you need a blanket to put on?
Yeah.
Hold a minute.
And she goes, do I need to take off all of my clothes? And Keanu Reeves does this thing where he's like just looking down at her. And then she goes, "John?" And he goes, "I'm thinking." And he goes, No, you can keep your clothes. It goes up against the Avengers. Definitely a like almost a miracle, right? That this movie got made in the end. Think about all the things that have to go right for this. You have to have a flagship like Iron Man appeal to everybody, which it did. A movie that a character not very many people knew about or cared about, and Robert Downey Jr. was a huge risk at the time. So to start with Iron Man, and then you say, "All right, fuck it, we're going to put all these individual characters in their own movies, and people are going to go see it because we are building up to something. We're building up to the Avengers all in one movie." Miracle, it happened, right? I mean, it's insane. And they give it a good story, and this is this still, I don't know, is this still the best Avengers out there? There's Infinity War is still really good.
This
too.
is my favorite Avengers, and I don't think it's even close. Infinity War probably is a number 2, but none of it captures the fun. None of the Avengers capture the fun, the quippiness, not the overindulgence in quippiness that we've talked about before in Age of Ultron, stuff like that. Doesn't feel forced. Seems like the relationships work. Seems like the antagonism works. Great villain. Yeah, we've got some disposable minions at the end, but it also wreaks havoc on an actual city, so there are actual stakes there. So I don't think anything comes close to like the original Whedon-esque vision of this movie.
No, it's my favorite Avengers movie, and it's in the top 3 probably of my favorite MCU movies. And I still, when I get done with Passengers, I may throw Avengers into editing software. I'd still think it's about 12 minutes too long on the front end.
Oh, see, I love that stuff. I love that. I love the meetups. I love the story, the introduction of Hawkeye. I love the introduction of, well, it's not an introduction of Black Widow, but I love her entrance scene where she's, tied up, she's poured into that bodysuit, and she's like, I'm about to make this happen.
I'm not even saying like the very, very front end.
Yeah.
I just mean in the first half of the movie, it takes too long to get to that second hour, which is almost perfect in my book.
It is. I think to have that be perfect, for that to pay off, I think you need all the stuff building up. You need the antagonism between Cap and Tony. You need the bromance with Bruce and Tony, and you need Clinton and Natasha kind of like doing their playful stuff.
Do we?
And then the Thor versus Hulk thing. I think so.
Do we?
I think so.
I mean, for the larger story, that we're about to see, the fact that he knows her history and all that's important. I wish they had explored that a little bit more, though. A little bit. In some other movies, maybe if they had made a Black Widow movie, like they should have probably. I know you don't agree, but
hey, no.
But
it's too late now, which is of course when they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to make a Black Widow movie now.
Yeah,
and there's only one way to do it.
I think there was a point where they said there's no way we can do a Black Widow movie and be profitable on it, but then they realized everything they come out with is profitable. So
yeah, you can make gold.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see any of that Chef TV show thing yet?
No. I want to watch that with my wife.
I saw the first episode.
Yeah.
The one with Gwyneth Paltrow.
What'd you think?
I loved it.
I watched probably 3 or 4 episodes of this. It is fucking amazing.
I loved it.
I want to blast her for not knowing she was in Spider-Man Homecoming. But then I almost equally want to blast myself for thinking that. Because if you're in the MCU, you probably just get an assistant calling you going, you got to be in Atlanta today for a shoot where you're playing Pepper Potts. Be there at 11 or whatever. Like, you probably don't necessarily. I can almost forgive that. But it's Gwyneth Paltrow with the vibrating vagina rock selling goop website. She's already lost credence with me.
Vibrating vagina rock.
That's the thing. She her website pushed these vaginal rocks that were supposed to. It's like holistic bullshit medicine.
What are they supposed to do?
I promise when you're doing research on it, it's supposed to. I don't know. Help with the feminine hygiene. It's thoroughly debunked. But she was selling them through her Goop website. You can research this. There'll be plenty of news stories about the vagina rocks.
Why don't we name our kid Apple? You'll look like more like an asshole. Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, that sounds typical to me. Like, I think I would forget if I'm playing the same character, but it's across a whole bunch of different movies. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. I'm that much of a movie nerd, and I'm not. I don't really think all actors are movie nerds.
That's true.
That's
true.
But that was pretty charming, and they made it way bigger a deal on Twitter than they did on the show.
Yeah.
She says, "Oh, I wasn't on that," and he goes, "Yeah, you were." And she goes, "I was in the Avengers," and he's like, "No, you were in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Remember, Tom Holland was there," and she goes, "Oh, I was on that." And
there's also a video of one of the premieres of the Endgame or something where she didn't know who Sebastian Stan was, and Chris Pratt is explaining that's Bucky. and she goes, who? And he goes, that's the Winter Soldier. And she goes, oh.
Now, see, that I understand because she's never had any scenes with him or anything like that.
I'm just saying it's only plausible if she's not plugged into the Avengers universe, and why would she be?
She probably just watches the premiere and then never comes back to it at all.
She's probably in these movies because she was in the first Iron Man, and not because like she was some comic nerd.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I tell you what, though, that chef show is dangerous for somebody who wants to eat everything.
Oh, I bet.
Well, wait until you get further into the season.
The first one is all about what they made in the movie, right? They made the beignets, they made the cubanos.
Oh, that's later on. They do like an all chef inspired menu. That's like, I don't know, episode 4 or something.
Is
like
that 4?
Yeah.
I just clicked on the start watching the series, and that's the first episode.
They make the chef recipes with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Because the first one's not, because it's a vegan thing that they make with her.
Right.
But then after that, they make the cubanos.
They do. In a later episode, they make some more of it. They make what they call Scarlett's pasta, the pasta they makes for Scarlett Johansson.
Okay.
And then they do the beignets in that one too. That's where I got confused.
But there's maybe I've saw 2 episodes, but they had Bill Burr on one.
Yeah, that is the first episode. The other one is just Roy Choi, Jon Favreau, and Babish.
Okay,
Binging with Babish?
I don't think I've even seen that one then. Anyway, yeah, the food that they're making on there is goddamn unbelievable. Anyway, the Avengers is fun. It's going to beat Constantine for sure over here. I don't think anybody's going to be bringing think Constantine's better.
Unless Barrett's going to filibuster.
I'm not. I mean, Keanu Reeves is just, it's well deserved that he's getting all this attention right now. But it's getting a little exhausting. Like, share your Keanu stories and like, this is how he was a kind sweetheart to me, and this is why he loves making movies. And let's show him behind the scenes of Toy Story.
And there was that whole Twitter thing where they were putting play on his name and everything, like Keanu leaves.
Oh yeah,
Twitter's the fucking worst with that shit.
Yeah.
We decide collectively, let's make puns, and then that trending list is useless for 6 hours.
I know. It's he is terrific in Always Be My Maybe. He's playing an exaggerated version of himself. He's hilarious. But
it's just a confluence of the new Wick movie, Always Be My Maybe. He's got the Toy Story 4, and then he just was part of some new video game announcement at E3, whatever the fuck. And so it's all happening within like a month and a half, and it's definitely overload.
Well, I've been on the Keanu train since 1997, so y'all can fucking suck it.
Yeah.
And Constantine is part of that train. It's the mid part. It's the thing with the catfish and Snowpiercer part of the train. Don't they have catfish?
I don't know. Be a shoe.
There's a catfish in the middle of the train that they cut open with the axes before they have that big axe fight.
Oh, yes, as you do.
Our next matchup is the 4 seed A History of Violence versus the 5 seed Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that's a good match.
This is definitely the hardest 4 or 5, I believe, out of this whole group.
Wow.
A History of Violence is a great movie. David Cronenberg did this. Viggo Mortensen is playing this small town diner guy who is living this simple life with Maria Bello and their 2 kids. And the movie starts off with these 2 like violent criminal guys, like they're at a motel or something. They're about to leave this motel and they've killed a bunch of people at this motel. And you're like, what is that all about? Well, they're driving across the country to get away and to get away from the law and all that, or get back with I can't remember why they're going cross country though, but the 2 criminals at the very beginning of the movie, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who end up going to the diner before just as it's closing, and they're being told that it's being closed. And that's when we find out that the Viggo Mortensen character is a badass. And you're like, whoa.
He kills him dead.
Yeah. They try to rob the diner, trying to get some money because they're almost out of it or whatever by the time they get to wherever they are. They're at like
Indiana.
It's Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And so his heroics get in the news, and suddenly he's getting visited by Ed Harris, who's calling him by a different name.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty sure that this guy is Joey something.
Mm-hmm.
And Vigo just keeps on saying, no, I'm this guy, you must got the wrong person. It's one of those things where you're like, is Vigo really the Joey guy?
It keeps you guessing for what feels like forever.
Yeah, and you know that the Ed Harris character is a guy who doesn't play around. He's like a huge gangster, and you're like, holy shit! And he did go ham on those two guys in the diner. How does somebody small town know all this kind of like techniques and stuff like that? I don't know if I want to spoil it or not.
Mm-mm. Yeah, let's not.
I don't think there's any reason to.
There's no reason to. We also, because the movie is short.
Yeah.
We'd be getting to almost the whole movie by this point because to explain whether or not he is or isn't this person. But there is a turn from William Hurt in this that's about 8 or 9 minutes, and he got nominated for an Oscar for it.
Was it that? Yeah, because he's just in a certain part of the movie
just
for
in
a little bit.
One part of the movie, and but History of Violence is great, and it also the appearance of the Ed Harris character and the doubt that it puts on Vigo's character changes a lot of stuff in his marriage too.
Mm-hmm.
Maria Bello looks at him like he is, he hung the moon and stars and everything, and then things start to creep up. And we were talking about this in Road to Perdition, how violence begets violence and everything. After a certain scene where his kid sees some violence, what happens the next scene?
Yep. He gets in a fight at school.
He gets in a fight at school. It's the same thing. But
it's got there is violence in this movie, but it's got a sexy scene.
Yes, it does.
It's got a real sexy scene.
Maria Bello is got to be one of the sexiest women I've ever seen in my life.
She is. She comes out because she really, really loves her husband. She gets all dressed up as a cheerleader. And oh man, what a scene! Woo! They have high school sex.
They do.
Except they're 69.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've forgotten this part of the movie.
He gets in there. Like even I don't know if they're using plugs or whatever to for the actors.
I'm sure there's a mesh of some sort.
There's a mesh. Some sort of latex filling.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get in and they start like and doing the mouth.
This is the son?
No, it's high. She gets dressed up as a cheerleader. You remember the scene?
No.
She gets dressed up as a cheerleader, Maria Bello.
It's at the very beginning.
And she comes into the bedroom and starts sexing him up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember now.
Yeah. That cheerleader outfit, man. Maria Bello in this movie and the cooler.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yes.
Well, and I mean, is there a bad cheerleader outfit?
No.
And it is very sexy, by the way, but it also is seems like very necessary way to get across their relationship.
Shows how incredibly in love with each other they are and everything, and it's crazy. The thing that about this movie that it makes you consider is the heroic deed in the movie that heroic? Because maybe it is. I don't know. It just seems like even the violence that he uses in the heroic deed is being questioned a little bit too. Because did he really have to go to that length? I guess he did. I guess he did have to go to that length.
It seemed like they were going.
But it also exposes a kind of underbelly of violence that he's been suppressing this whole time and everything. There's definitely a comment about that. There's more than just heroism going on in that scene.
Vigo's terrific. The couple of things that I found when I was looking this up, by the way, is that Viggo Mortensen says that this is one of the best movies he's ever been in, if not the best.
Oh,
he's been in a lot of good movies. The other thing is the Los Angeles Times has called it the last major Hollywood film to be released on VHS.
No.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? That this is 2005.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But end of an era.
It goes up against Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I think some people put this up there with The Dark Knight.
They do.
This is put up there. It's a movie that is taking superhero seriously, and it's a film on all of its own. And you can forget about superheroes and villains and things. This is an actual film here because it's taking the conspiracy theory 70s spy, 70s thrillers and everything and throwing it into a Marvel movie. I mean, it's still a silly comic book movie in the end, though.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's about, an unfrozen caveman.
Yeah, unfrozen caveman life. Yeah.
Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's things logistically wrong with this movie.
Unfrozen caveman
just
Bucky.
a caveman.
I'm just a caveman. I don't know about Hydra.
I don't know about these helicarriers.
Your ways confuse and frighten me.
I just watched this with my son because we're going through the MCU and all that. Rewatched it. We've talked about how we don't like this as much as other people do, but every time I watch it, it gets a little better.
Yeah.
And I'm able to dismiss a few things, the logistics about the Bucky shit and all that. But I like the route that they're going here. I like the action scenes are a mess, but they're not the focus of the movie, except for the elevator scene. The elevator scene is terrific.
Yeah, and I mean that final scene with him and Bucky fighting on the collapsing whatever might as well be the end of Spider-Man Homecoming in terms of making any sense to me. It is my favorite of the three quote-unquote standalone Captain America movies.
Absolutely.
And I do think it's pretty watchable. It does not achieve the 70s spy thing it thinks it achieves, but it achieves enough of it that it feels different than the other movies in the MCU. I give this movie half a letter grade just for having Robert Redford in it.
Yeah. And he's not phoning it in, Robert Redford, either.
No.
He seems to be really enjoying this.
Yeah, and
especially towards the end.
Yeah. So again, I don't probably like it as much as the average MCU fan. I probably like it a little more now than I did when it first came out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And he and Scarlett Johansson have this. She is really good with just about this entire cast, like the one-on-one stuff with Bruce and with Clint and with Cap. She just seems like a perfect screen partner, at least in this series.
Yeah,
so, it's good.
I think it's a good movie. I think I'm like Jeremy. I didn't fawn over it like everybody did when it came out. They were making it seem like this was like the second coming or whatever. This is the this is the new standard that we need to reach. When no, we've still got better standards, I think, than this movie.
Is Falcon introduced in this movie?
Mm-hmm.
That's
what
on
your
thought.
left.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
On your left. And I do like what the Russo brothers did with all of this and everything. And there are moments that I still like. I just can't believe that, they're I guess they're fun on their own, but logically I just can't get past it. Like the whole Zola is put his entire consciousness into a computer that also warns Cap and Black Widow.
It warns and then is suicidal.
Yeah, and is suicidal. The mere fact that Zola thought Bucky was important enough to go back into the fucking mountains to go find and do this Winter Soldier thing, this experiment on, that doesn't make any sense to me. The only reason why he's important is because we know who Bucky is, right?
Yep.
We know who Bucky is. He doesn't know who the fuck Bucky is. That's what just never jibed with me at all on this thing. But take these scenes on their own. The action is good. The conspiracy is good. It's just I've never had it really up there.
Yeah,
for me.
The Russo brothers. You know what they directed before this? It was
they did some Arrested Development.
They did, but the only features that they did was Welcome to Collinwood.
Oh yeah,
and which is that crazy George Clooney thing that we've talked about before, and You, Me, and Dupree.
Oh yeah,
that was
right.
it.
They did Community too, right?
They did some other
I'm not sure.
I feel like they did another
cultish
show
comedy, yeah.
But the Arrested Development, because they put the Bluth Stairs car in Civil War.
Yeah, they did do Community, by the way.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they go next. They're going to make a movie with Tom Holland that sounds nothing like an MCU movie, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I like me some Tom Holland.
Me too.
All right, so what's winning? History of Violence or Captain America the Winter Soldier?
There's the only reason. Why am I just assuming I get to go first?
You go first, baby.
The only reason I would pick Winter Soldier would be to minimize negative feedback from people who do hold that movie up with The Dark Knight.
Yep.
I think A History of Violence is a better movie start to finish. And if you want to yell at me because it's a comic book movie by technicality, I can't hear you. I'm recording this well before you listen. I'm voting History of Violence.
Okay. Barrett?
Have you read this graphic novel?
No, but it's next on my list to buy.
Yeah. I'd like to see how, because it's David Cronenberg, who we know from Videodrome and like all these like body horror films and stuff like that. So I think this is the first one where he really steps out of that mold, and of course he did Eastern Promises too. With my favorite part of A History of Violence is where Viggo fights this dude in a sauna when he's naked.
That's Eastern Promises.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's that's A History of Eastern.
Yeah.
This is closer than I thought it was going to be, because, like I said, Captain America or Winter Soldier is like kind of climbing up a little bit, but History of Violence is like one of the best movies I've seen over in this like century. So I'm going to go with that.
All right. I was also going to go with History of Violence, so I'm glad that you didn't give the decision to me there. It is a kind of an interesting thing. Like I said, when we've included these Road to Perdition and History of Violence, these are inherently great films.
Yeah.
That are going up against what is considered to be kind of silly entertainment fare. It is going to be interesting how they go against the big heavy hitters and everything.
I can't wait. Well, History of Violence is going up against Avengers.
Going up against Avengers next. The next one we have is the 2-seed Superman, the original Superman, and the 7-seed Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, Ragnarok. I think Ragnarok is overrated.
No, you're wrong.
I think it's great.
I just watched Ragnarok like 2 nights ago, and I too thought that before I watched it again, because I'd seen it probably 2 or 3 times or so, and this is my 4th time, and it was a delight.
I think it. My point is, I think it's great. I think it's a delight. I still think it's overrated.
No, okay. Well,
it was so much fun, and Thor: The Dark World was so terrible. I think we talk it up a little.
Well, this is, though, it came out right before Black Panther, right? It was the one right before Black Panther. So it came out in between Doctor Strange and I believe Homecoming and Black Panther. And it's this great run of Marvel movies, of MCU movies. And then they kind of get bogged down in like Captain Marvel and like, Infinity War or Endgame, I think it's riding the crest of that great stretch of MCU movies.
I think Thor Ragnarok is great. I love movies like this. But it feels like it's the parody of Thor.
It totally changes his character. Completely changes.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I talk about ill-defined powers. The Hela character in this, who knows what's going on there? I can smash Thor's hammer with my one hand, but still have struggles later on. Like, it doesn't seem like she should have any struggles whatsoever.
I don't think she does have struggles, though. The only time that she gets, like, even breaks a sweat is when she's fighting Valkyrie, Thor, and Loki all at the same time. Because, again, like you, I had those feelings that I didn't understand her motivations, her powers, and stuff like that. But having watched it again, like, I do understand her motivation. She's pissed off, rightfully so. Like, she's on this whole, like, death binge and conquering and stuff like that. Dad's just like, nah, I want to do something else. And he just fucking, like, imprisons her for thousands of years. And then, glosses over all of her accomplishments. And, it shows when she's, when she takes down the covering of the artwork that she's in, she's holding the hammer. So I think she's as all-powerful as she thinks she is. You know, she just can't locate where the rest of the Asgardians are.
I just don't think there's any reason why she should lose at all the way that was presented.
Yeah.
To Surtur?
To nobody.
She loses to the fire god guy, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry. Just one more technicality. I don't think she dies. I don't think she gets conquered. He just destroys the planet.
So she's still out there?
Potentially.
She's more powerful than Thanos.
I mean,
we just had 2 movies after this with
she's
Thanos.
out there floating like Leia.
It's possible. Yeah, right. They're both floating side by side like, yeah, let's go.
What's up?
No, I think like she survived. If anything's going to take out an all-powerful being, it would be like the destruction of a planet. So it's possible that she was killed in that. But I think his mission was to destroy Asgard and not her.
Yeah, I'll say this too. I mean, whether or not the movie does define these powers and that all of this makes sense, nearly everything in this movie is moot by the next movie.
Yeah.
And so somehow they kick the legs out of this movie's, ending and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find another Asgard. Oh, okay, everybody, half our people got destroyed and
you cannot get more stark differences between the end of this movie, where it's like Meek's dead, that kind of thing, and then the beginning of Infinity War, which takes place on the exact same, location.
Yeah, and there is like some sort of weird like explanation in Endgame about what happened with those half of those other.
What was it?
I haven't seen Endgame since it last came out, but there was like some half-assed, maybe there was no-assed explanation.
I mean, they just go to New Asgard, and then they're there. And
Valkyrie's just like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, what? Did you go through like some sort of, I don't know, time travel pod?
I have it may have been, but I've seen Endgame twice, and I don't remember the explanation.
Yeah, okay. So maybe they never explain how they got off the ship and everything. Maybe they, I don't know. It doesn't say that Thanos let them go or anything, or that they've escaped or, but yeah, this movie's really undercut by the next 2 movies.
I know. And it's a shame because I would have liked to seen, more of that fun being, from his storyline be brought through.
Mm-hmm. But I'm as big a Ragnarok fan as anybody. So I it's just that I feel like a lot of it's just been knocked down since. It's like if you make a movie that's great and then the next movie tells you, oh yeah, by the way, none of that happened.
Exactly. This movie is beautiful, by the way. Like the colors on the trash planet are all like these purples and greens and, salmons and stuff like that. And it's, I don't know. I love me some Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
The guy is just a genius.
Have you seen any of the show, What We Do in the Shadows?
I have not. I saw the movie. The movie's Boss.
Yeah, I liked the movie, but I haven't seen the show. And I think he's a producer.
Mm-hmm.
I need to check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's great. Again, I buried the lead. My main thought about Ragnarok did not need to be it's overrated. I liked it a lot. I just, we spent 3 months slobbering on Jeff Goldblum's dong just because he showed up to be Jeff Goldblum.
It was that, and wasn't he in a couple of other things too?
Yeah.
It was like this Keanu thing, basically, right?
Yeah. I mean, everybody was all like, oh, Jeff Goldblum! I'm like, yep, that's him.
Yeah, that's him doing
That's
him.
what he does.
Yeah.
That's his thing.
He's funny.
He's got makeup
but he's
on.
funny because he's funny.
Anyway, sorry.
I can't wait, by the way.
Salty.
This does open up like what are they called? Like infinities or the characters, the Grandmaster and the Collector. Then there's one more, like the Immortals, basically, that have been around since the beginning of time. I would love to see a Jeff Goldblum, Benicio del Toro, and whoever they come up with, the Curly guy, in some sort of space adventure.
Curly guy.
I was thinking Three Stooges.
Oh, okay, gotcha. There's more than 3 of them in the comics.
Are there? Yeah, I'm interested. I wish they would go super high concept and do something that would really stretch your brain a little bit. Like if they included death. It was death that Thanos is trying to...
Yeah, but they pretty much just forgot that death even existed.
I think, I guess they're not trusting their audience to be able to keep up with that. And I understand that. There's not a lot of people that want to go in and be like, oh, I want to think about death as a character.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can make William Sadler play him again.
Oh, hey.
Then it's going up against Superman, 1978. Richard Donner. This movie. We talk about these phases of like how we were getting into comic book movies and everything. You know, the first the Tim Burton Batman is a milestone, and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man and X-Men 2 and then Dark Knight. These are all like milestones, but this is another one that, you know, Superman is silly, but it takes it generally seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it into an actual fun action film and everything. Origin story, but you know, a great origin story.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the original Superman.
It's overrated. I'm just kidding. I grew up watching on television the Adam West Batman and the George Reeves Superman show in black and white. I don't know if you guys ever saw that.
Yeah.
And this was the first superhero movie I ever saw. It was Superman. I'm sure I saw it on TV, not in the theater. And it has a special place for me. Mm-hmm. It's goofy and it's dated, but it's still great.
Yeah.
I love it. And he should always be the archetype for casting, I think. The most perfect casting job to date in a superhero movie. And that even includes Robert Downey Jr. and everybody else.
He's got a personality. Like, he's a do-gooder, but he's got a nice, relatable personality. Brandon Routh did not have a relatable personality. Even Henry Cavill doesn't have much of a relatable personality as Clark. Like, he had a little bit more to work with. He was a little more relaxed in that role.
Yeah, no, it really, yeah. And he gives you a different, you know, when he's Clark, he's awkward and fumbly and stumbly and
fumbly, nimbly, bimbly.
I just like it. It just has a soft place in my heart.
Yep, and it has the ridiculous going around the world thing. But when you're a kid, isn't that the best thing in the like? You could like, oh my God, he can make the world turn backwards, and that makes sense. The time goes backwards too.
Yeah, as opposed to the oceans falling on top of us.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes.
I wonder if this is the only movie that Gene Hackman and Marlon Brando have been in together.
Wow.
I think so. I can't think.
I can look this up.
Yeah, if you want.
Well, no, Marlon Brando's in Welcome to Mooseport.
They did a Weekend at Bernie's thing. That's terrible.
Oh man,
it's, you know, Gene Hackman may be like dock worker 6 and On the Waterfront or something like that.
That's true.
Well, all-time score.
Superman.
Yes.
And then we have Margot Kidder.
Yep.
And she looks a lot like Karen Allen, but both Margot Kidder and Karen Allen were heartthrobby for me when I was a prepubescent little
Was it
boy.
the giant glasses?
It was the love.
She had giant glasses.
I had a thing for sassy, smart brunettes.
Yeah. I'm down with it.
That's why I like you so much.
That's right.
Iconic score. John Williams, being John Williams. How much? What's he looking for over there? Is he like downloading the movie?
It's the
I'm downloading the movie.
It's the IMDb collaborations thing.
Oh,
yeah, which is super
you can,
cool.
Like see who's.
But the problem is, like, they'll probably give you like the 60th Academy
Well,
Awards, or like
I'll weed through that.
Jimmy Kimmel Live in 1994.
It is the only time they were ever in the same movie.
But they were not in the same room.
No, they weren't. In fact, I don't think Brando even showed up to set, did he?
We didn't have to.
I will say that it is kind of interesting. They were both on the same episode of the Mike Douglas Show.
I figured it was something like that.
Yeah.
But that was Jimmy Kimmel Live back in the 60s.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
So yeah, I'm gonna go Superman here. I think as far as like comedy and just entertainment and everything, I do like Thor Ragnarok better. But I think for the story involved and the I just like Superman better as far as the story is concerned.
You could certainly make the case that it's a more important movie if you can draw import out of a superhero movie.
Mm-hmm.
It had more influence than something like Thor Ragnarok, which is just kind of an oddity within a cinematic universe.
It's a bridge over to the Avengers Infinity War, and it almost can't even hold up on its own now because of what's happened after.
It doesn't. In fact, when I saw that end credit scene where Thanos' ship shows up, I'm like, God damn it! I was having so much fun, and I'm going to pick Thor Ragnarok because I had so much fucking fun, and I wish they would go back to this kind of thing. This is one of the only MCU movies that really has the director's stamp on it. You see the Marvel sheen, but it goes in creative avenues that nobody else has gone before in this particular universe. It's got Mark Mothersbaugh doing the score. It's fucking great.
Score is great.
Superman.
It's got a squishy place in your heart.
Squishy place in my heart, and it's not overrated. I'm just kidding. I'm going to go down on that ship. I love Thor Ragnarok. I'm going to get such a bad reputation.
I know I have a bad reputation.
And it might even, like, if you were to give me these two movies on a deserted island and everything, I would end up watching Thor Ragnarok more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing here.
That's an interesting thought experiment.
Mm-hmm. Our final matchup of the South region is the 3-seed Avengers Infinity War versus the 6-seed Batman Forever, which won our play-in game earlier in the episode. So I'm on record of saying I think Infinity War is one of my favorite comic book adaptations. Although, much like what we were talking about with Ragnarok, Endgame nearly like.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is your experience now with Infinity War tainted a little bit by Endgame?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
By far, yes. Because of what they did at Endgame, they Days of Future Pasted it.
Yep.
And I think that's cheating.
I like that you used that as a verb, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I still say it would have worked better if the snap had killed off the originals and been permanent.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to being something where they killed off all the new ones and the originals had to go back to save the day. But there must have been some massive push at Disney or Marvel to give the original 6 Avenger actors or characters one final adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I still think you could have done that and still had them lose, and Thanos goes snap and they disappear, and fucking Spider-Man looks at Black Panther and says, "What now?"
Yep.
That's the MCU of an alternate universe that I would rather be living in.
Yeah, there's just so many different ways that they could go. I think I've got the exact opposite. I think Infinity War to me looks better because of the mistakes that were made in Endgame. I think I'm going to over time enjoy watching Infinity War more than I am watching Endgame.
Well, it has more hurrah moments for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked earlier when we were reviewing Endgame, there's nobody throws a moon during battle.
That's right.
In this one. And a lot of the battle stuff in Endgame is dark.
Yep.
Dark. And at least the end of Infinity War, when Doctor Strange is doing that magic fight with Thanos, you can see what's happening. It's all going by very quickly, but you can see it.
Whereas you can also see where they're all working together, and he's got the portals opening.
Yeah.
And they actually end up working together before Quill goes all asshole on him. Like, they're working to do, like, each individual power is being used. Spidey on one side, Strange on the other, Mantis on top.
They have planned this, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
That whole thing is great.
Yep.
Until, yes, Quill does his stupid shit, and they did it in Endgame too. Like, it didn't hurt them, but like that was another, they almost fucked up again at the beginning of Endgame. And you're like, have we not learned lessons yet?
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
What is going on? And as easily as Thanos is dispatched at the beginning of Endgame, spoiler alert.
Yeah, there you go. We're allowed to talk. It's after 2 weeks.
It is. as quickly as they got him, I would have much rather him snapped and he would have been part of the half that died.
Right.
Yeah. If you're going to go ahead and poof him anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's 20 minutes of movie right there. And I didn't need any of that. In fact, they dispatch him so easily, it's almost offensive. Because in the beginning of Infinity War, he's only got like 1 or 2 stones, and he's still a fucking badass.
He is.
And here he's got no stones, and he might as well have been made of straw.
Yes, and then you fast forward to the end of Endgame, where he's beating ass with no Infinity Stones.
I know. It's one of the... I got my problems are more with the power differential than the time travel. And the time travel problems are an issue.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're both issues. But I think Infinity War mitigates those differences or those issues better than Endgame for sure. And I go back because it's on Netflix for who knows how much longer. And I go back and just watch the little chunks of it and enjoy it, especially like the New York scene, especially the moon throwing scene, and the stuff on with Spider-Man on the ship and all that stuff. So it definitely has parts where I'm just down, like, mark me down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these cheating fucks did this shit in Endgame, man, and just, fucked everything. They started this whole thing for me, man. And you know what? Here's an interesting, since, everybody disappears, clothes and all and everything, if he had snapped, would the glove have disappeared too? See, this is the movie you want to see, motherfuckers.
Well, and now they're marketing, I'm going to rabbit hole a little bit. Now they're marketing Spider-Man Far From Home. I think they're lying, but they're openly saying the snap at the end of Endgame brought elemental demon villains, the water thing that he's fighting in Far From Home, from an alternate reality to our reality.
Oh, really?
Which suggests they are going to, for all of time, be redefining what happened during that snap, however they fucking want.
Well, which one?
Oh, not only did it bring in the elementals, it also made 3 copies of Tony Stark. We just didn't know about it because they were on Saturn.
Well, exactly, because now you got 3 snaps. You've got the Banner snap, and then you've got the Tony snap, and then you got Thanos.
Yeah.
And like we said in the review of Endgame, it's like, do you have to, like, it's like blowing out a birthday candle, right? Like you think real hard about your wish and then you snap and it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the repercussions besides just bringing your buddies back?
Cheating fucks.
Cheating fucks.
Anyway, Infinity War goes up against Batman Forever, which we discussed earlier in the episode. I am definitely going to pick Infinity War here. Infinity War was a unique experience, and I really enjoyed that. And like I said, gets kind of undercut by Endgame, but on its own, I really like it. Really, really. I mean, I can overlook some things in that movie and really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm Infinity War all the way.
Yeah, I mean, even for all the bagging on it we just did, if we were to vote Batman Forever over Infinity War, I do believe we would definitely lose fans.
We would lose fans, and I think I might write. I would be like listening to it going, no, what the hell are you guys doing? You guys are assholes.
You guys are assholes.
Yeah, exactly. Avengers Infinity War will now go up against Superman.
Ooh, sassy matchup.
Yeah. And we ended up doing pretty well, keeping some WB in this.
That's right.
Some DC.
DCWB.
DCWB. DC and Marvel, it's still alive and well. I think there's a smidge more Marvel.
It's only in the North bracket.
Yeah, the
everything
North bracket.
else is. I think it's only 1. Yeah, because that's the only 3-1. Otherwise, it's 2-2 in the rest of the regions.
Okay. Well, there's going to be some very interesting matchups the next time we go through all these for sure. Why don't we do some recommends and warns?
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
I got a hard recommend and a hard warn, so I'm ready.
I love that movie, Hard Warn.
Oh, yeah. Cindy Crawford was great in it.
Yeah, she was.
My wife was screaming during the porno password section of Cable Guy.
With laughter.
Yes.
Oh, God, it's so fucking funny.
It's like, Center. Or he says center. He's like, hard erection?
Yeah.
No, but thanks for noticing.
Yeah. Everybody's just eating it out of his hand.
I would have said schlong.
Yeah.
Penis. She got vagina. She got vagina. Love that fucking movie. Sorry, go ahead. We doing recommends and warns?
Yeah. Where do you want to start with recommends or warns?
Do recommend.
All right. I'm gonna recommend an old ass movie. I scratched another movie off my Hitchcock bucket list.
Ooh.
Okay.
And I've seen a lot of Hitchcock. I love a lot of Hitchcock. My favorite is Rear Window.
Mm-hmm.
Shamefully, before this past week, I had never seen Dial M for Murder.
Oh, yeah.
Really? Who's in that
Fucking blew my mind. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
98% of it takes place in one room.
Uh-huh.
The way the mystery is solved, do you know the premise, basically?
I don't.
Guy finds out his wife has been cheating on him.
Mm-hmm.
Decides to blackmail an old college friend who he'd recently bumped into, who he knew had stolen some money in college, into killing his wife for him.
Seems to happen a lot.
It does.
They set it up, and the night of, he's a fuck up, and she gets out of his hold and kills him.
Ah.
And the rest of the movie is the husband trying to move pieces around the board to keep himself out of trouble. Because they have to call the cops because there's a dead body in there. But do we call them right away? Should we move some things around? Do we set the scene?
He's trying to protect his wife.
No,
and...
fuck her. He tried to murder her. He's trying to protect his own ass.
I got you, because he instigated the entirety of the...
Exactly. And then you've got a very Columbo-like detective who knows more than he's letting on, and he's playing very... Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I was riveted. I was as riveted as I've been by any modern mystery.
Oh, it's great. And you know it was remade, right?
Yeah, Perfect Murder.
Perfect Murder.
Which
came
I've
out.
seen.
Yeah.
Viggo Mortensen is also
Viggo
in.
is in that.
And Michael Douglas.
Michael
right?
Douglas, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, I love that movie, by the way.
I remember thinking
this
it was
is much better.
Okay, but
yeah.
this one, I mean, A Perfect Murder obviously didn't do the focus all in one room because it was a stage play first, and Hitchcock very intentionally wanted to make it feel like you were watching a play. Yeah, just utterly riveted. It all hinges on latch keys. It all hinges on a key.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like, I'm impressed when a modern movie can come out with a mystery that I don't guess by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think older movies might even sometimes be easier to guess because they've probably been, imitated before and maybe more simple thinking or what have you. But I was like, how's this all going to work out? I couldn't figure it out.
The big actor in Dial M is Grace Kelly.
Oh, then she's playing the wife.
Yeah,
Princess of Monaco.
Ray Milland is the main guy in that, but Grace Kelly is the most well known that plays. I enjoyed it so much. This next week, I'm going to find another Hitchcock I've never seen. I think I'm going down.
I think that you've inspired me too. Yeah. Where did you see this on?
It was running on Turner Classic Movies or one of those movie channels that plays old shit.
I'm gonna have to check that out then.
Implex maybe. I don't know. I'll Google it and find out where it was.
Mm-hmm.
But high recommend. Really good.
I'm down.
I actually said to my wife, "Can you come back and talk to me later? I really want to watch the end of this." And I almost never do that.
I can't believe you don't have DVR.
I know, but Dicer couldn't believe it either. That's crazy. I think I actually broke his brain a little bit when I told him.
I was having I meet up with a bunch of friends once a month and watch movies, and there were two that we saw. One is the 1939 The Women, which was remade in 2008 with Meg Ryan, Annette Bening, and was a piece of shit. The 1939 The Women is you can't even believe this movie was made back then. You had two female writers. The director is a guy, it's George Cukor, but the entire cast is women. There's not one man in this whole thing.
Appropriately named.
Yeah, exactly. But it has Norma Shearer, Joan Crawford, Rosalind Russell as your top three.
1939.
Yeah, these are all legends, and the movie's very fast. It's got that 1939 repartee thing going on, stuff that is so fast and stuff that gets right past the censors and everything. There's a couple of moments where they're able to convey that they're calling each other bitches a couple of times in this without saying the word. And just a lot of like wordplay in there that you're like, oh man, as much as the Hays Code, squelched us from having like, nudity and sex and all this, whatever we wanted to say in movies and everything, sure did somehow make movies wittier and like, there was an art to getting things that were, you wouldn't be able to get away with if you said it bluntly, but if you say it in a certain way, man, it just comes off so much like, oh, your brain like feels good because you can, because you can connect all these things. But the women is the main character Norma Shearer plays. She's being cheated on. She's got a daughter. Her husband is cheating on her with Joan Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
And Norma Shearer's like main rival among her frenemies essentially is Rosalind Russell, who is fucking great in this. She is so funny in this. Rosalind Russell is likes to have these type of secrets and have these things over on her and everything. But of course, Norma Shearer does find out about it and everything. And there's a big talk about whether or not they should get divorced and all this. And the discussion between her and her husband that happens completely off screen. And we just have,
I was wondering if it was the husband character in here.
We just have a scene where one of their maids or their housekeepers, whatever, come down and say, I was listening at the door and I heard them talking about the divorce and all that. So they completely have no men in this at all. Huh. The table sort of turn later on, and we find out that Rosalind Russell's husband is also cheating on her with some other character that we've met in the movie. Joan Crawford has her own little, like, after she gets married to Norma Shearer's ex-husband, she's cheating on him with somebody else. And it's just one of those, the movie is just very well written and witty and everything, and I highly, highly recommend it. 1939, great movie.
You guys went oldies.
We both did, man. We brought you the black and white Heat.
Yeah. White Heat.
Wow. Well, I'm going with the movie from this year, and I've talked about it a little bit.
No, it has to be older.
No, it's got to be that.
Yeah.
From the 40s. It's in black and white.
Okay.
It's Always Be My Maybe.
Ah, yes.
All right.
Ah, yes.
This is Ali Wong. This is Randall Park. And, you got so many fucking options on Netflix. I really wanted to watch that Central Park 5 show.
I do, too.
But that's an investment of time that I'm going to make because I really, really want to see that. There was David Letterman's got a new season of his My Next Guest
He
thing.
interviewed Kanye West. I'm done with him.
I wanted to watch that episode to see if there were any signs of kind of... I know he opens up about bipolar disorder and actually wanted to kind of get into
what's going on. I can't handle him being given a platform to be an advocate for mental health and talk about his bipolar if he's still going to just go off of it whenever he wants. He's a bad advocate.
I agree, which is why I wanted to watch it and to kind of see if anything has changed.
He's a badvocate.
Mm-hmm, but I wanted something light, and I had heard really good things about this Always Be My Maybe. I had seen Ali Wong's stand-up specials, and I wasn't a huge fan. I do like her delivery, though. She's unafraid, she's very vulgar, and she's very honest. I love honest comedians. You can't have an artifice if you're telling jokes. And so she and Randall Park's character, it starts off in San Francisco when they're very young, and they live next door, and they're best friends, right? And they just get along. They do everything together. She's always coming over to his parents' house because her parents are always working, and her mom is a really good cook, so she teaches her how to cook. She's Korean, and so they grow up and they go through high school and all that stuff. And finally, on their final year of high school, they fuck each other. They have sex in the car, in the back seat.
Bow chicka.
And
yeah.
This is in the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away. Afterwards, it's so weird and awkward that Randall Park's character, Marcus, he says some mean shit to her. He said such mean shit to her that they don't talk for 15 years. In that 15 years, she has now become a celebrity chef at the level of like a Bobby Flay or a Gordon Ramsay or something like that. Sasha. And so she's in L.A. She's going to all these like events and sparkly and sprinkly and stuff like that.
Yes.
Meanwhile, he's a weed-smoking musician in San Francisco that works for his father and lives at home. But the relationship, it's not antagonistic. It's not weird. He and his dad are best friends. Like his dad comes in and he's doing like a little dance and he's smoking a joint and stuff like that in front of the mirror. And his dad comes in. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Smoking weed and doing a little dance." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he starts doing like a dance off with him. It's really, really fun. So eventually she comes up to San Francisco and they reunite. And it's hilariously awkward at first. And it's warms up and then they start rekindling their friendship. And in the middle of the friendship, when he's about to tell her that he has feelings for her, boom, Canoe. Canoe comes into the picture and she's dating him. And they're having tremendous sex. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, like I've seen the trailer where he's doing his thing and, this is for a part and like, I miss your scent and all that stuff. But it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's fucking hilarious. That certainly is due all the praise that he's getting. And then it subverts a lot of the rom-com stuff towards the end.
So then you're telling me Randall Park ends up with Canoe?
Man, that would have been awesome.
It would have been awesome.
By the way, the scenes with him and okay. Two more things about this movie. The stuff between Randall Park and Keanu Reeves becomes hilariously antagonistic. You got to watch this movie. You got to watch this movie because it's fucking hilarious. The other thing is that scene where they're at the restaurant with Canoe and with Randall Park and Ali Wong and his girlfriend is the most hilarious send-up of high cuisine restaurants that I've ever seen. I'll give you one example. First off, when Keanu comes in, the waiter comes over and he's like, "Do you have anything that plays with time?" And he's like, how do you mean? And he's like, "Just the concept of time. Do you have a dish that plays with time?" And he's like, "Yes, I've got a dish for you." And he's like, "We have the sous vide steak that you have to wear headphones and listen to the dying sound of the animal that made it." And it cuts to Keanu.
He's doing
they're all they get these headphones on, and before he goes into it, he's listening and he gets teared up, and he's like, "I'm sorry." And then he just starts eating it. It's fucking great. Oh, man.
Awesome.
This is a high recommend. I haven't laughed so hard in a long time.
Is the Mariah Carey song in there anyway?
No.
That's my favorite song of hers.
Yeah, they do have a D'Angelo song. The D'Angelo video where he's naked and I forget the name of I think it's like Untitled One or something like that. That's where they have sex too.
Okay.
And they have sexy sex, by the way, towards the end of this movie. Yeah.
Nice.
It was very important, apparently, for Ali Wong to show Asian people like doing things that you typically see white people doing on screen, like having sex and showing the sex, not the penetration, but like the showing of this.
That'd be a completely different story.
Yes. And this is, it's the guy Dopender from Deadpool. Plays in Randall Park's band. And one of the characters is lesbian. And he gets weirdly uncomfortable. He's like, "Well, I am LGBTQIA allied." And then he goes up to her and he's like, "Thank you for your service." This is a funny movie.
Yeah.
Funny
man.
Movie. You want to do a round of warns or other recommends?
I have a warn.
Bring it.
This movie made me angry. You know me. I like new movies. I like horror movies.
Uh-huh.
I like movies that slip past me. Usually there's actors in it I know that. So I'm flipping channels the other day and there's this movie. I swear to God, in the last 48 hours, I have forgotten the title of this movie 72 times. I just looked it up. It's called What Keeps You Alive.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
No.
It's like from 2018, 2017, and the description was, it revealed to me that there was some kind of betrayal and a lesbian marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way the description read said she something betrayal her wife or something. And so I was like, okay.
You like lesbians?
You're
LGBTQIA
I'm certainly not offended by it. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I flip over. Now, this is essentially a thriller, but I did not know this. I thought it was a drama. Betrayal, to me, said drama.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, betrayal means murder.
Okay.
So they're walking through the woods, hiking, lesbians, married.
Mm-hmm.
They're both cute. Not that that's important to the story.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them says, I didn't catch the very, very beginning. I should probably point that out. And the one with short hair says, I was talking to your relatives or whatever, and they had some questions about the way that girl died. You told me that story about that girl that died in the lake. And then the redhead wife says, well, here's what happened. And it's a sad memory. And I was looking the other way, and she fell into the water, and we couldn't find her. And they're like, okay. And they keep walking. I'm like, all right, well, there's something about that murder probably. Well, maybe it was a murder. I don't know. So they walk to this cliff. And the short-haired wife, I really can't think of a better way to explain her. They both have J names, too.
Was there people that you recognized in this? Oh, okay.
And she walks to the edge of the cliff, and you can see miles and miles of woods, and there's a lake, and it's gorgeous. And she's like, oh, this view is amazing, honey. Turns around, and redhead wife is running at her full speed and pushes her off the cliff. And she falls 75 feet. You hear bones crunching. She looks over, and you can see her laying there dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow, that's betrayal. Redhead wife goes back to the house, pukes, washes up, and then goes out to, I guess, deal with the body. The body is gone. Because even though she fell over, I'm telling you, this cliff is fucking 80 feet if it's 2.
She's cliff
wife.
wife.
She is gone. So now redhead wife is like, shit, I didn't do murder. I did almost murder, and she's going to tattle on me. Then it becomes The Hunted with Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro, where she's literally walking through the woods going, she pretend crying, Jules, where are you? I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. And Jules is hiding behind a tree over here trying to be quiet.
She is alive.
Oh, yeah, she's alive. And then the redhead wife immediately snaps from sad to fuck, because you can tell she's really evil. She's not sorry. She did mean it.
Uh-huh.
All right, so the situation works to where they find themselves back on the same cliff.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure I remember how they got there. But this time, short-haired girl pushes redhead off the cliff, and she falls to her death, and you hear bones crunch. You think she's dead, Barrett?
No, I don't
You think that body's
dead.
still going to be there when short-haired girl gets down there? It is not. It is not. They end up back on the cliff a third time.
Maybe, possibly, this isn't the best murder weapon.
Try it again. This time, she's collapsed. Short-haired girl, redhead girl, kicks her off the cliff.
Oh, maybe if you kick.
She's definitely dead this time, right, y'all? So, redhead girl goes back to the house. What's that? A laptop that's open? What could it be? Opens the laptop. It's a video of short-haired girl saying, guess what? I switched your insulin with fucking hydrogen peroxide. And now you're going to die, and it's already eating your brain. We cut back to short-haired girl, dead on the ground. Her eyes are open. We zoom in. We see her POV of the sky, and then she takes a fucking breath. She lived a third time off that cliff, and I ran into the next room and screamed the entire plot to my wife. I was so angry. You can have a character fall off a cliff and survive one time. One time per movie.
Yeah.
Not 3. I go online to validate my opinion. This fucking thing has an 82 on Rotten Tomatoes.
What? What is it called again?
What keeps you alive? Do you want how I found it this morning? Right here, sitting here, I Googled lesbian marriage woods murder.
Okay.
And it came up as the first result. What keeps you alive?
Martha McIsaac from Superbad is in this.
Oh, excellent.
Now, it's got a 5.7 on IMDb. So
Okay. But so the critics saw something that
they must have that nobody else saw.
The one thing I do want to praise the movie for is it makes no big deal whatsoever that they're lesbians marriage. Nothing. It could have been 2 guys. It could have been a married husband and wife. It's just part of the setting of the story is that they're two girls who are married.
She thought ahead to do a video.
Yes, she did. And hydrogen peroxide.
In between the cliff scenes is when she recorded this?
The movie does not tell you when she recorded this. I think it's after the first time she fell off the cliff and survived, but before the second time she fell off the cliff and survived.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not diabetic, but I have a feeling I would know what hydrogen peroxide. Like hydrogen peroxide is.
Yeah, I guess I've never.
That shit burns.
I've never injected myself with either.
I haven't either. Anyway, God, I'm giving it a huge warn. If there's anybody out there that wants to change my mind, I'm here for it.
It sounds hilarious.
Oh,
It does.
God damn, I was so angry.
And I don't think Martha McIsaac plays the characters you're talking about. The girl from Superbad, who was the Michael Cera love interest in Superbad.
Oh, Becca?
Becca, yeah. It says that she's in it, but I don't think that's the two women that you described are at the very top.
Okay, yeah.
Martha.
She must be like the family member that girl talked to in the beginning who raised some doubts about the ice murder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. God damn, I was so mad.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So after I watched Chernobyl and was listening to some podcasts, listening to their podcast about Chernobyl, the guy who was behind that said, one of the decisions that they had to make with Chernobyl was, do we try to get everybody to speak in a Russian accent, or do we just, everybody speaks in their normal accent and everything's okay? And I think that's a good choice, because I think when people, he was talking about how, like, if you tell an actor to do a Russian accent, then they just go with that shit. And you
end up with Malkovich and
you end up with all sorts of, like, probably stuff that people just can't get around and everything. He said that there was a movie that he watched that that was actually on HBO. It was a TV movie back in 1995 called Citizen X, which has a lot of the same political issues that Chernobyl had. That's Chernobyl set up. This was in the early 80s Russia, and they have a serial killer killing kids, and because the Soviet Union's this huge bureaucracy and everything, they appoint people who they think can possibly solve this and everything. Stephen Ray is the guy who plays the main investigator guy in this. Donald Sutherland plays one of the politicians who's the head of his department and everything. But the Soviet Union didn't have any kind of techniques like the FBI did back in the day. They didn't know how to solve murders like this. They didn't know how to get inside the head of a guy like this. And the solution of the Soviet bureaucracy to try to figure out who did this, Stephen Ray's sitting there saying, we need to get in contact with the FBI. We need to have them tell us how they do this stuff and everything. And that's a big no-no. The Soviet Union does not want to admit that they don't have these things that the Americans have. And they don't want to reach out for help and seem weak and everything. So Stephen Ray's basically investigating this with both hands tied behind his back the entire time. And Joss Ackland, who is in Hunt for Red October, plays one of these other Soviet bureaucrats in this. So you get to hear Joss Ackland again. He gets into his Russian accent. But they're the government's basic position on how to solve this murder without contacting the FBI, without like really going through the investigative techniques that you need to do, is to round up all the homosexuals that they can possibly find who would have perverted ideas of some sort and would be capable of doing this type of thing. And of course, it's very wrong-minded and stupid.
Yep.
And meanwhile, Donald Sutherland, who is basically in Stephen Ray's corner, but is trying to get him to think like a politician does. you don't get what you want by calling everybody stupid. You have to kind of be quiet until you can come up with a solution that everybody can agree on. And they couldn't agree on the stuff that Stephen Ray was asking for in this whole thing. Even Sutherland, there's a point where, they're rounding up homosexuals and they're asking them questions. He's like, oh man, we got so much good gossip out of this guy. We got, and that's all he seems to care about is this gossip. And it's not true. It actually pays off later, but it's weird not knowing. It was weird knowing that the Soviet Union didn't have the right they weren't equipped to investigate somebody like this. The guy who plays the killer in this, if you're a Billions fan, is Paul Giamatti's dad in this, and the way he goes about it, like he doesn't even really try to hide it. It's just, he obviously hides it enough that nobody knows that it's him, but Stephen Ray, very beginning of it, thinks that these kids are being abducted at train stations, and he's right. He's right about that, and they even get this guy at one point. Stephen Ray goes into the train station and arrests this guy, and because of some weird DNA thing that happened back then, they couldn't prove that it looked like it was somebody else's DNA. That's a question that, by the way, the movie puts a text thing at the end about, that they swear up and down that the DNA that they found at all the crime scenes didn't match this dude who ended up getting convicted for all the crimes and everything. And I know that's spoilery, but really it's the method as to how they get to it that's more interesting than, because you know who it is at the very beginning of it and everything. The other part of it too is that they get a psychologist to come in and try to write up a big paper on what he thinks this person who's doing all this stuff is. And it's Max von Sydow plays this character.
Jesus Christ, this cast is amazing.
Cast is great. And Max von Sydow writes this paper that's like, this guy is probably married. He probably has sexual problems. He's probably not homosexual, all these different things and everything. And, it's a fascinating sort of, I guess procedural in a way, also political intrigue and things of that nature. Having just watched Chernobyl, this goes right along with it. If you're looking for something after Chernobyl, this movie is, it's got the machinations of a 1995 TV movie on HBO at least. But it's very well done, and I highly recommend it.
Sounds awesome.
What is it called again?
It's called Citizen X.
Not to be confused with Citizen 4.
Or Malcolm X.
Yes, or Citizen Kane, or the X character that Donald Sutherland brings up in JFK.
Oh, yes, yes. That's awesome. I have to check that out.
Yeah.
I got one quick wreck of Warren. Did you ever watch Lemonade, the Beyonce visual album?
I saw parts of it. No. I did not see it.
Well, you know that it had like spoken word intros and like all this ethereal imagery and stuff like that, and then it would go into
some of the music videos even.
Sorry, yeah, exactly. So Lonely Island did a visual album very akin to Lemonade.
Okay, I've seen this.
Yeah, so they did it about Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco, 1989, the Bash Brothers.
Yeah.
Now we have the Splash Brothers out in Oakland. This was the Bash Brothers. They were the home run, dinger hitting, like fucking juiced up dudes. And found out later on, of course, that they were on some heavy steroids, anabolic steroids, and, their accomplishments were tainted. But they're still kind of lauded, especially in that area for the Oakland A's. We grew up in this era.
Yep.
And I grew up really, really loving these guys. I wasn't an A's fan, but I loved baseball guys hitting taters.
Prodigious dingers.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. So and I guess Andy Samberg and Jorga Tacome and Akiva Schaffer are around our age too.
Yeah.
So they made this joke parody visual album about it. You've seen it, right?
I have.
You haven't seen it? Lonely Island is hilarious. I love me some Lonely Island. They're very, very funny. They're very good rappers. They've got good musicians backing them up. They also kind of have just a couple of speeds, though.
Mm-hmm.
They have the slow jam speed, and then they have the Beastie Boys rapping speed.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of 1 or 2 songs, like Lazy Sunday, Dick in the Box, that kind of thing, that's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Over the course of 30 minutes with 11 songs,
Mm-hmm.
gets a little bit old.
I'm so glad that you're saying this.
Yeah, same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had the same experience.
They're all funny. If individually,
Yes.
they are all funny. There's a Sia song, Oakland Nights, where it's all like sexy and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Ready AF type of thing.
Yeah, but like even Oakland Nights has the feel of the one that they did Jizzed in My Pants thing. It has the same kind of feel to that. The very first song I was laughing my ass off on, and I was like, all right, I can't wait for this. But then you're right. Everything about it afterwards feels very homogenous.
It does. And they're covering the same ground. I can only take so many my balls are small jokes.
Yeah.
And that I like to lift weights jokes. And that Jose is my friend jokes.
Is Walt Weiss in this?
Oh man, I wish Walt White. See, that would have added some flavor to it to come up with these obscure A's. You know,
He was on that team, right?
He was the rookie. He was a rookie of the year back in the day that they were getting good and everything. You had Walt Weiss, you had Dave Henderson.
Yeah.
Was Eckersley on that stuff?
Eckersley was on this team. It would have Dave Stewart. It would have been fun to have like the whole team involved somehow.
It's just them.
Yeah.
And the only time that it does really move, now it's still, like I said, it's a record warrant. It's still funny. The only time that it does really change gears is when they do the IHOP parking lot dance off, basically with Maya Rudolph and Haim, however you pronounce their names.
Right.
And so, like, when it does switch speeds, it's pretty good. There's one little stinger song at the very end that's really good. It's crazy because it's Akiva Schaffer is the other guy, is Mark McGuire, and Andy Samberg is Jose Canseco. But Akiva Schaffer looks so much like Justin Timberlake that I literally did not believe IMDb. I was like, because he's got a history with this guy and he looks exactly like him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Akiva Schaffer. So anyway, you'll probably, some people will love it. If you're a fan of Lonely Island, you should probably check it out, with the caveat that maybe it gets a little repetitious. But I think if they had trimmed off 10 minutes of this and really kept the best bits, I think it could have been
Trying to make
good.
this shit sound authentic.
That's right.
What is the thing that it's about? What is it that Downey says in Tropic Thunder?
The scene is about emotionality.
Now about emotionality. Okay, that's going to do it for this week. Keep going to SoundCloud, the SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook, Cinemasins Twitter, MVS Twitter.
That's right.
There are many places that you can go and talk about this very episode. But that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I love Seattle. I wonder if I could afford to live out there. I mean,
It's fucking expensive.
It's just expensive as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
Never gonna get it.
Never gonna get it.
No, you're never gonna get it.
Not this time.
Wasn't that? Oh, that was In Vogue.
Mm-hmm.
Bop.
For about 10 months, they were the shit.
Man, I like me some In Vogue too.
Free your mind.
Yeah, that song was
and
dirty.
The rest will follow.
It had that filthy guitar, down.
That was the hit. The one you were singing was the one that came after. That was the second hit, right?
Yeah, Never Gonna Get It. That was what was the name of that?
Never gonna get it, because they did that breakdown.
Never gonna get it.
Never gonna get it. Never gonna get it. I hope this makes the podcast. Did you start recording?
It will.
I think he stopped the recording.
We need the third part harmony there, Chris.
Yeah.
Not this time. Not this time.
Yeah. Not this time, Barrett.
Oh yeah, My Lovin' is the name of that song.
Oh yeah, My Love.
It was Funky Divas. God damn, and they were foxy.
Oh. I know. I don't think I ever saw him. I just heard him. Hello, that's what follow.
Wow, oh wow, must it be this way? I think the whole podcast should be our impressions of Infolk.
Yes.
We're so lame.
Have you seen The Dead Don't Die by any chance?
No.
The dead don't die, don't do that. Do that. I don't
That's,
know if the dead die.
is that the Jim Jarmusch?
Yeah. They had Chloe Sevigny was on NPR yesterday, and she was talking about. So she's a cop, and Bill Murray's a cop, and Adam Driver are all cops in this town, like a rural town in New York. And so the zombie shit starts happening and everything. And there's a scene where they're in the car and they're low on gas and all that stuff. And they had to wait, like the actors had to wait for the scene to develop and all that stuff. And Bill Murray, who was in the driver's seat, just took off. Like they went on like a joyride.
Nice.
To go get some like local produce.
Nice.
I thought that was delightful. That's the Bill Murrayest story that you could ever think of.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Feel it.
Feel it.
Feel the vibration.
You know, that's not such a bad album.
I'm not going to even dignify that.
It's a perfectly fine song, Good Vibrations.
Okay.
He had a flow. Oh, you know what? Did you ever have that album? Did you ever listen to it?
I mean, just the radio single.
Did you ever listen to it, Chris?
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
No, I never heard the album.
What was the...
Do you think there's a guy out there with an Instagram bio that reads, former member of the Funky Bunch?
Absolutely. There's a dude named Hector Barros who's in it, Terry Yancey, Anthony Thomas. I'm sure they trade on that. Are you kidding me? We're the Funky Bunch.
I wouldn't.
Music for the People, 1991. So I think it was the last track on the album is a song called Wild Side. And it's like a rap version of Lou Reed's The Wild Side.
That song, how does that song still get played?
Which one?
Lou Reed song.
Well, it was crazy. Chris was listening to it on the radio, Break Up With Your Girlfriend Because I'm Bored.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the MTV version, because the song goes, Break Up With Your Girlfriend Because I'm Bored, you can hit it in the morning like it's yours. And apparently in the MTV version, they edited out Hit It.
Yeah.
And so you can, in the morning.
Well, and it makes it worse because I thought she said a lot worse there.
Well, she's got shit all over her.
Yeah, I thought I like when it says you can in the morning, and I was like, what is she saying there? You fuck my pussy in the morning? It might as well have been that, right? And then
you can fuck.
Yeah.
Let me get very specific on where.
And that's what I thought. But then I'm in his car and I hear you can hit it in the morning. I was like, oh, fucking MTV.
all
fucking
the things.
MTV, man. Can't say anything involving sex or naked or some of the mildest swears ever.
You know what was a sexual innuendo minefield of a movie to sin was Paddington 2.
Oh, really?
Because there's a part in there where he shaves off dude's head, a stripe of this guy's hair, and then smears marmalade on it and puts the hair back on. And the man reaches back and says, "What is this, marmalade?" And Paddington goes, "Hairy marmalade." And I wrote about 16 different jokes.
Oh, man.
And ended up on the one that's in the script. But then later on, somebody goes, "Nobody squirts condiments on my apron." It's just like, oh, God, I can only do so many euphemism jokes.
Jeez.
You know, what's funny is I was going through Chamber of Secrets, the Sins video, because they had used that YouTube edit function.
Oh, yeah.
And that video is really funny. Like, it ends with, because it ends... The second to last series of sins is like basically the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back and you're like, let's talk about how negligent these teachers are.
Oh, God. That was
like a series of like 20 sins.
That sin goes on for like 2 minutes.
But it's telling each sin as it goes along. It is running on. Like it's a comma, but you'll get the ding.
Yeah, yeah.
And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon.
Yes. I tweeted at the end of Cats in the Cradle, like, yeah, the kid's turned into the kid's version of an asshole, but at least he says please when he asks for the car keys.
Oh, yes.
That
was inspired. By the way, my second favorite tweet ever was the one that I just did the other day, where it was the Pavarotti film for that Ron Howard is doing.
Mm-hmm.
I tweeted out Lady Gaga voice, musical notes. I'm a tenor man, I sing and make the people watch me. Pavarotti. Got nothing. Like 6 likes.
The best tweets always get ignored,
God
man.
damn it.
And then I responded to one of Frank's tweets saying, I don't like King Kong or Godzilla. He stepped on my house, and it got like 150 likes. I was just like, I officially give up. I cannot predict Twitter at all.
No.
It was Paganini.
Yes.
Pavarotti is a tenor. Paganini is the composer.
What is that from?
For October.
Oh.
Courtney B. Vance.
You better be safe and just cut everything I said about the uncomfortable boner.
All right.
Even though in the room I think it makes sense.
It does make sense. I'm with you. I'm with you with your uncomfortable boner. But
That's definitely an outtake.
yes.